In only 3 years, Perplexity have reached millions of users, billions in valuation, and processes billions of user queries per year. But history has shown us time and time again that this is no guarantee for sustained success. With OpenAI and others entering the market, Perplexity is facing strong competition that they may not be able to overcome. This is why Perplexity will fail. To understand Perplexity and its appeal, we first need to understand what it aims to replace, or at least provide a substitute for. For the past 20 years, whenever we wanted to find answers to something, we would go to Google. The idea of Google is so simple yet powerful. You type in a search query and Google automatically shows you the best results that you can click on to read more. However, this is only a good experience if the 10 blue links are actually providing great content. Over time, money-hungry companies learned that they could earn a lot of money by being on page 1 of Google. In fact, according to some sources, less than 1% of users scroll to page 2 of Google. This naturally incentivized companies to game the system, meaning optimizing their website for Google rather than the humans that are actually reading the content. This is called search engine optimization, or SEO for short. It spawned a whole industry that is selling for billions of dollars each year. You can, for example, buy links to your website, people that will write long blog posts on your website, or other advice for how to change your website so that it is more likely to appear higher in the search results. To add to that, when you search for something on Google, the first thing you will see is ads. Because if you cannot organically appear on page 1 on Google, you may be willing to pay to be there instead. So not only do we have people trying to game the ranking system, but also people paying to appear first. All of this means that the actual good content is being pushed further and further down. If someone told me that Google is trying to see how much they can degrade the search results before people start complaining, I would not be surprised. It feels a bit like a once beautiful garden now overrun with weeds. You still remember how much joy the garden used to bring you, but you must admit that it is no longer what it once was. And where's Google in all of this? Well, they invented what is by some called the best business model ever made. Because when people are searching on Google, they are being shown ads. And the advertisers are using an auctioning system so that the highest bidder will appear there. This means that for any search query, Google is getting the maximum amount of money out of it. Google is earning billions of dollars every year on this system, so why would they change anything? They basically have an infinite money machine. This is the story of the big giant that refuses to change. And this story is older than time itself. Just look at what happened to Blockbuster. They had a great business of renting out DVDs and nothing indicated that people would someday stop renting DVDs. But then Netflix came along and realized that they could stream movies and TV shows on the internet, which made it even more convenient for the users. This meant that in just a few years, Netflix took a big piece of Blockbuster's market share, and today, Blockbuster is barely existing anymore. Ironically, Blockbuster turned down an opportunity to buy Netflix back in the year 2000, way before Netflix became the giant they are today. It serves as a good reminder that just because you have a dominant position today, you can't just get complacent and think that you can stay that way forever. This is not the only example. It is a common pattern for many big companies. They become so big that they refuse to change what is working. And at some point, a new company comes along that delivers the same value, but in a better way. And that is essentially why Perplexity is so interesting. They developed a piece of software that searches the web, reads the results, and then writes an answer to the user query. And most of the time, it actually works great. I get a detailed answer in a few seconds, and in most cases the result is both correct and satisfying. As a user, it also mostly solves the problem of SEO hackers and people paying to get a better position in the search results, because I rarely click on any of the sources. I simply get the answer to my question, which is a much better user experience. But to understand how Perplexity got so good, we first need to understand the AI battleground. Around 2021 to 2023, especially after the launch of ChatGPT in November of 2022, many people realized how far generative AI had come and how it would change the world in good and bad ways. But one thing that was still very unclear was how to create new companies and products with AI. Not so much how to use the technology itself, but more where the money would be made. Was it by developing foundation models or by creating products that use the LLMs as underlying reasoning models? Or maybe by hosting access to the models through a cloud service? It was anyone's guess really, but the founding team behind Perplexity made a smart decision. Instead of trying to fit an LLM into a non-AI native product, they wanted to build a product where the LLM was in focus. This meant that as the foundation models improved, their product would automatically get better. After a few different prototypes, they ended up with the Perplexity that we know today. It would quickly gain big traction due to the reasons we discussed before. Finally, someone had presented a valid alternative to Google. It didn't take long before the internet was full of articles about it and YouTube videos telling you how to maximize your Perplexity usage to get the most out of it. For some strange reason, these are the markers that people care about your product in the modern day. But as we all know, making something that clicks with people initially is very different from making something that stays relevant for decades. And a question that I had when I saw a product like Perplexity is, how are they different from any potential competitor? I mean, sure, they already have a brand in their user's mind, but since they are relying on models that are accessible to the public, and at least in the beginning relied on Bing's API to do the actual searches, it should be possible for other companies to deliver a similar product and user experience. And Perplexity also knows this. They are building front-end features on top of just the search and LLMs. For example, they have a surprisingly good section with world news, and unlike traditional news media, you can ask questions to get even deeper understanding of what you're reading about. These initiatives are great because they are building up unique resources that cannot be replicated as easily as the search product. But we all know that this doesn't matter unless the business can make money. And just like the world is still figuring out which products to create that utilizes our new AI superpowers, the world is still figuring out how to monetize these products as well. So far, it seems like the most common business model in the AI world is subscriptions, and Perplexity is no outsider in this regard. They currently offer a $20 Pro version, which gives access to more searches, better models, and more. And currently this is working quite well for them. Some reports say that they now have $100 million in ARR, which is objectively impressive for a company that is only a few years old. Given that this is the case, I'm sure that plenty of you are already down in the comments suggesting that the title of this video is more clickbaity than the worst of the 10 blue links from Google. To those of you that feel like this, I can promise you that there's a reason for this title. And the reason is what I have chosen to call the AI battleground. You see, Perplexity has not been the only company who managed to create some traction with a product built around LLMs. We have for example seen products like Cursor, Lovable, Bold, Character AI, and many more. And I think that only a few of them will stand the test of time. As I explained in my video about why OpenAI is no longer open source, LLMs are becoming a commodity, meaning that there's going to be much more competition, especially with the rise of open source models. This means that if a company such as OpenAI is going to stay relevant, they need to lean more into building products, rather than just building models, because that is where the money is made. Having ChatGPT is a great start, as it has nearly 300 million active users, but just having a chatbot is not enough. In the last couple of weeks, we have heard reports that OpenAI is wanting to buy Cursor's competitor Windsurf for $3 billion. And while we don't know whether the deal will be made or not, it just shows how committed OpenAI is to compete directly with the product that uses their LLM. And as I'm sure you are aware, you can now create images directly from ChatGPT, meaning that many users will simply use ChatGPT rather than signing up for something like Midjourney, because they are already using ChatGPT. From ChatGPT, you are also only one click away from creating videos with Sora, and now you can even do web searches. This is a big blow to Perplexity because, just as with Midjourney, If you are already paying $20 per month for ChatGPT, why would you also pay to use Perplexity when a substitute is right there in front of you? So essentially, OpenAI is bundling more and more AI products into one ChatGPT subscription, making it the obvious choice for many users. With one subscription, you can get access to chat, image generation, video generation, and searching, and in the future, maybe even more things. And there's a reason why companies are bundling products together. It actually works. Just look at how Teams outcompeted Slack because it was bundled with Office 365 that companies were already paying for. There's a reason why governments around the world are going after Google's bundling strategy on Android. Bundling products together works. If Perplexity wants to succeed in the many next years to come, they need to come up with a really good answer to why would anyone use the product when SearchGPT exists? And personally, I think that Perplexity's search product is better than SearchGPT. But I'm not sure if it will stay that way, because OpenAI has a big incentive to keep improving the product to get more and more usage. But even as it is today, I think many people already think that SearchGPT is good enough. And if not, then maybe the deep research feature that is also built directly into ChatGPT, which serves a similar but different function. One potential answer to why you would want to use Perplexity is if they had their own internet browser. Or at least that is what Perplexity thinks. They're apparently building their own web browser for both doing personalized advertising, but also create an AI-first web experience, whatever that means. While I do understand where they're coming from and want to give them credit for thinking outside of the box, I am unsure if this is the right move. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see a new take on browsers, and even more to see Perplexity succeed, but I do question whether this is what will save them. And I realize that from the perspective I'm presenting here, it can look like OpenAI is acting like a big greedy company. But the truth is, they are just playing by the rules of the system. One of the things that makes the internet special is the fact that it often leads to a winner-takes-all scenario because of network effects and economies of scale. When a company is better than competitors, they get more usage, which generates more data, which they can use to improve the product even more. And as they do this, they get the ability to make it cheaper and cheaper. This means that when a new platform switch happens, it is very important to get an early head start. Think about YouTube, for example. Why would you ever go anywhere else if you want to watch videos? And if you're producing videos, why would you ever publish them anywhere else? Capitalism is like a game with broken rules. The more you win, the easier winning becomes, until no one else even has a chance to play. Some would argue that this is a good thing because it means that the users are only getting the best experiences. The best video platform, the best search engine, and perhaps soon the best chatbot. But the problem with all of this is that once a company becomes a monopoly, they are incentivized to extract value from the users. Just look at what happens with Windows. For most of my life, I really thought that Windows was a great operating system, but with Windows 11, they introduced ads inside of the OS, and they're actively forcing you to use Bing when you're searching for files on your computer. I mean, Microsoft, come on. Microsoft can only get away with this because most of their users are so used to Windows that they would never switch away. So they are actively worsening the user experience to earn even more money, and no one can stop them, because how can you compete with Windows? I use Linux, by the way. This is why we need competition. We need competition to make sure that if a company starts misbehaving, users have an easy way to switch to an alternative. But with the nature of capitalism and the internet, which naturally produces monopolies, the only solution that seems possible is to break up the monopolies, as we are now seeing that some parts of the US government want to do with Google. But this is not a perfect solution, because we still have this cycle of a new platform comes around, many different players compete to be the biggest. At some point a winner emerges and it becomes impossible to compete with them. At some point they start exploiting their users, and the government breaks them up and the whole cycle repeats. And when we are talking about AI, I cannot see why we would not end up in this type of situation. OpenAI is already leading and they are doing everything they can to make sure that they will be the winner of the AI battle. That means seeing what types of AI products people are interested in and building it into their own ChatGPT bundle, and then kill the original products, or at least limiting their growth by a lot. And that is why I think Perplexity will fail. Not because it is not a great product, but simply because both OpenAI and others are playing by the rules of the game. And even those of us that think that capitalism is the best system can see that the rules of the games are broken. Capitalism is supposed to reward innovation, but what it is really rewarding is dominance. Maybe it's time we build a better game. If you liked the video, please consider to subscribe. I currently have around 700 subscribers and each one of you means a lot. Thanks, bye.